The Alpha King called her wolf dead while the Black Wolf throne was still feeding. Liora Vey saw it before anyone else did. A thin silver pulse moved through the cracks beneath Alpha King Ronan Draven's throne each time High Throne Seer Merwin poured black salt into the carved wolf mouth at its base. The court called it the opening rite. No one asked what was being opened. Liora knew feeding when she saw it. Every servant did. You learned the difference between ceremony and hunger by who had to clean the floor afterward. She stood barefoot in the center of the shifting hall beneath the moon window, with a silver trial chain around her wrist and a black ash mark painted over her heart. A hollow blood mark, a mark for a girl believed to carry a dead wolf. Tonight, the nobles had come to watch that death confirmed. Merwin circled the Black Wolf throne with a crescent blade in one hand and black salt in the other. Her moon-white robes whispered across the stone. Tiny silver bones clicked in her braids as she bent and pressed more salt into the throne's cracks. The black stone drank it. The carved wolf mouth at the base closed around the salt as if stone had teeth. Above it, Ronan sat in black ceremonial armor, a white wolf fur mantle over his shoulders, his dark silver crown catching the cold light. He was young for a king, and old in the way war made men old. His pale gold eyes missed little, and tonight they kept returning to Merwin's hand. To the salt, to the throne drinking beneath him. Liora saw him notice. Marvin did too. The accused will kneel, Merwin said. Liora stayed standing. A murmur moved through the court. Merwin's eyes sharpened. Liora Vey, a servant name, a leftover name, a name no house had claimed after the registry marked her wolf as non-responsive. Liora swallowed. If my wolf is dead, it cannot be offended by my standing. A few nobles laughed. Ronan did not. His gaze moved from the throne to the black ash mark over her heart. His left hand tightened once against the armrest. Then his face went cold again. Merwin turned to him. Majesty, the girl has failed every private moon. Call. By law, she must be commanded once by the Alpha King. If no wolf answers, the death is confirmed. Death confirmed. A funeral spoken over a soul Liora had never been allowed to meet. Ronan descended one step from the throne. The hall changed. Alpha power moved with him like moonlight turned to iron. Every wolf in the room sensed it. Guards lowered their eyes. The silver torches bent toward him. Liora felt nothing. No claws under her nails. No heat in her blood. No second heartbeat in her bones. Only the trial chain growing colder around her wrist. Ronan stopped at the edge of the circle. You have been summoned before? He asked. Yes, Majesty. How many times? Merwin answered first. 7 private rites. 3 healer calls. 1 moon. Blood test. No wolf sound. No shadow. Shift. No scent. Change. Ronan's eyes stayed on Liora. I asked her. Merwin went still. The correction passed through the hall like a blade drawn quietly. Leora's throat tightened. 11 times. Ronan's jaw shifted. And what did you feel? No one had ever asked that. They asked what failed, what records said, what healers confirmed. No one asked what it felt like. Liora looked at him. Like something was listening from behind a door. But every time I reached for it, the door closed. The hall went silent. For one breath, Ronan's expression changed. Merwin stepped forward too quickly. Dead wolves leave echoes. The girl mistakes absence for distance. Liora looked at her. Then why does the throne sound closer than I do? The words left her before fear could stop them. The hall froze. Merwin's face hardened. Then fear flashed through her eyes. Too fast for innocence. Ronan went utterly still. What did you say? Liora looked past him to the black throne. It whimpered once when I cleaned it. A ripple of disgust moved through the nobles. A servant speaking of the throne as if it were alive. Merwin lifted the crescent blade. Hollow. Blood madness often begins with hearing dead things. Ronan did not look at her. He was watching the throne. The silver light inside its cracks had faded the moment Liora spoke. As if it knew it had been seen, Ronan turned back to Liora. I will give the command once. The trial chain around her wrist began to glow. The court leaned forward. They wanted a failed shift. A clean ending. A servant girl collapsing under royal power. Ronan lifted his hand. For one foolish heartbeat, Liora hoped. Not for power. Not for glory. Only for something inside her to answer loudly enough that she would never again have to wonder if she had imagined being alive. His command struck the hall. Shift. Every wolf in the room flinched. Liora felt the command enter her body. It went through skin, through blood, through bone, then vanished into the distant ache she had carried all her life. No wolf answered. But the throne did. A soft pulse moved beneath Ronan's feet. Silver light flickered inside the carved wolf mouth. Ronan's gaze snapped back. Merwin moved instantly, scattering black salt across the cracks. The pulse vanished. Too fast for innocence. Ronan saw it. Liora saw him see it. For one dangerous second, the king said nothing. Merwin bowed her head. The court has witnessed. No wolf answers the girl. Ronan looked at Liora, then at the throne, then at Merwin. Why did the throne move? The hall went cold. Merwin's fingers tightened around the crescent blade. Old stone reacts to royal command. No, Ronan said quietly. It reacted after the command failed. A murmur passed through the court. Hope rose in Liora's chest, fragile and dangerous. Merwin cut through it. Majesty, hesitation risks contamination. The hollow mark must be sealed before the dead wolf rots the living girl. Ronan's eyes narrowed. Sealed how? Merwin did not answer. That was answer enough. She stepped into the circle. Ronan moved. Wait. Too late. Merwin pressed the crescent blade against the black ash mark over Liora's heart. The mark split open with silver light. Liora screamed. Not because the blade cut deep. Because the black wolf throne screamed with her. The whole hall shook. The throne cracked from base to crown. Every torch went white. A howl rose from inside the royal seat. Not from the wolves. Not from the walls. From the throne itself. The court scattered back as silver fire poured through the black stone. The carved wolf mouth opened wider than stone should open, and a glowing wolf face pushed through from within, huge, luminous, furious, and heartbreakingly familiar to a girl who had never seen her own wolf. Liora fell to her knees. The trial chain shattered around her wrist. Ronan stood frozen before his throne, his face stripped of every royal defense. Marvin Mentpala. The glowing wolf inside the black stone opened its silver eyes. Not at the king. At Liora. And for the first time in her life, Liora heard the voice inside her soul answer clearly. Not dead. Fed to the throne. The glowing wolf face pushed through the black wolf throne and looked at Liora as if it had been waiting for her to remember. Merwin moved first. She seized the bowl of black salt and flung it into the carved wolf mouth at the throne's base. Seal it. The glowing wolf screamed. Liora screamed with it. Pain tore through the ash mark over her heart, and she fell forward on both hands as silver light bled through her dress. It felt as if the throne had teeth inside her chest, and Merwin had just forced them closed. Ronan turned on the throne seer. Stop. Every standing wolf lowered its head. Merwin froze only for a breath. Then the black salt hissed deeper into the cracks, swallowing the silver fire. Ronan descended the last step from the dais. I said stop. Merwin clutched the bowl. If that thing breaks free, the throne's protection fails. That thing looked at her. It is using her, Merwin snapped. A hollow blood's rot can imitate recognition. Liora lifted her head. The glowing wolf inside the throne pressed one luminous paw against the split stone. Not attacking. Trapped. Ronan saw it. Move away from the throne. For the first time, Merwin's fear showed. No. A royal guard glanced between them and lowered his spear halfway, unsure which command still ruled the hall. Ronan went still. The air around him sharpened. Merwin backed one step, then threw the rest of the black salt into the carved mouth. The throne roared. The glowing wolf convulsed, dragged backward by black veins running through the stone. Liora clutched her chest as something inside her was pulled toward the throne again. Ronan moved faster than the guards. He caught Merwin's wrist. Silver bones cracked in her sleeve. Feeding on what? He asked. Merwin said nothing. Too silent. Liora heard the answer before anyone spoke. Howls. One. Then another. Then dozens. Buried inside the black stone. Wolves. Not the royal wolves in the hall. Wolves inside the throne. Liora pressed both hands over the ash mark. There are others. Ronan looked at her. What did you say? Inside the throne, she whispered. I hear others. Merwin's face hardened. Hollow. Blood madness. Liora turned on her. Stop calling it dead when it is screaming. A young nobleman who had laughed earlier stopped smiling. One royal wolf backed away from the throne steps with a broken whine. Ronan released Merwin and stepped between her and the throne. How many wolves are inside my throne? The black wolf throne pulsed. This time, the silver light did not come from Liora. It came from Ronan. A thin line of blood appeared beneath his dark silver crown. The crown had cut him. The drop slid down his temple and fell onto the throne step. The moment royal blood touched black stone, the throne answered with hunger. Silver fire surged from the cracks and wrapped around Ronan's shadow, climbing toward him as if his blood were a key. Ronan staggered half a step. Merwin whispered, Do not bleed on the throne. Ronan slowly turned to her. What happens if I do? She did not answer. The throne did. The black stone split open with a violent crack. Silver images flashed through it. Wolf faces, chains, ash marks over young hearts. Little girls crying under moon windows while priestesses painted them black. Liora saw the truth. So did Ronan. So did the nobles nearest the dais. Girls like her, marked hollow blood, too young to shift. Their wolf spirits pulled from their bodies and fed through the throne's carved mouth while the court called it protection. The vision vanished. Liora could barely breathe. Hollow blood, not born empty. Emptied. Not dead wolf girls. Girls whose wolves had been eaten before they were old enough to call them. She rose slowly. Pain shook through her legs, but she stood. No more dead names for living wounds. Merwin's eyes snapped to her. Liora pressed one hand over the glowing mark on her heart and faced the throne. If you fed on us, then you will answer us. The glowing wolf inside the stone pushed harder against the crack. Ronan looked at Liora as if the court had vanished. Not softly. Not yet. But differently. As if the girl he had judged dead had just spoken to the thing his throne feared. Merwin lifted her chin. The ritual preserved the crown line. Without those wolves, your father would have died before the Northern War ended. Liora kept standing. Wolves inside it. Ronan looked at the black wolf throne as if seeing it for the first time. The seat of protection. The altar dressed as a throne. His father's throne. His throne. His face went deadly still. You fed children's wolves to my throne. Merwin turned sharply. Your father did what kings must do. A few nobles recoiled. One mother in the second row pulled her young daughter behind her cloak, her face going pale as she looked from the ash mark over Liora's heart to the black throne that had just confessed its hunger. Merwin watched only Ronan. The throne protected you, she said. It strengthened every royal command you have ever given. Ronan went motionless. Every command. Every bowed head. Every war won. Liora saw the realization cut through him. He had not known. But he had ruled with it. The glowing wolf inside the throne pressed its face against the crack again. Liora stepped toward it. Ronan moved at the same time. Liora. The sound of her name stopped her. Not because it commanded her. Because it sounded like warning and apology at once. Like he had no right to keep her from the wound his crown had made, but could not bear watching the throne take more from her. I hear it, she whispered. Ronan's jaw tightened. I know. That answer changed something. Not trust. Not yet, but the beginning of being believed. Merwin's eyes narrowed. Do not let her near it. Ronan did not look away from Liora. Why? If her wolf remembers her fully, the throne may reject the crown. Liora's heart struck hard. Ronan heard it too. Then perhaps the throne should. Merwin went white. The crown cut Ronan again. Another drop of blood fell onto the throne arm. The entire throne lit from within. The glowing wolf face vanished. For one breath, Liora thought Merwin had won. Then a deeper howl rose from the throne. Not Liora's wolf. Older. Lower. Closer to Ronan than to her. Inside the black stone, another wolf face opened its eyes. Larger. Darker. Crowned in faint silver flame. It looked at Ronan as something that knew him. Then it spoke. My king. Ronan's face lost all color. Merwin whispered, No. The dark wolf pressed closer to the crack. And the black wolf throne began to pull the king's shadow back into itself. The black wolf throne began to pull the king's shadow back into itself. Ronan staggered. Not backward. Forward. As if the throne had hooked something beneath his ribs and yanked. His shadow stretched across the floor, long and black, no longer matching his body. It reached toward the cracked base of the throne where the dark wolf's silver-crowned face pressed against the stone. "My king," the wolf said again. This time the words shook the crown on Ronan's head. Liora saw his hand close around the arm of the throne, not to steady himself, to resist being taken. Merwin moved at once. She snatched the crescent blade from the floor and cut her own palm across the edge. Black-red blood spilled into the last grains of salt inside the bowl. "Crown. Blood answers crownstone," she whispered. Then she flung the mixture at Ronan's shadow. The salt struck like sparks. Ronan made a sound through his teeth. His shadow tore. Liora felt it in her chest. Not as sharply as when Merwin fed her wolf back into the throne, but close enough to make her stumble. The glowing mark over her heart burned. And the first wolf, the wolf that had looked at her, howled from inside the stone. Ronan turned his head toward Merwin. His face was pale now, but his voice was lethal. "What did you do to my shadow?" Merwin's breath came fast. "What your father commanded be done the night you inherited the throne." The words hit the hall like a blade dropped point first. Ronan went still. Liora looked at him. Inherited the throne. Not crowned. Not chosen. Inherited. Merwin saw the realization begin and tried to smother it before it could breathe. "The royal wolf must be divided," she said. "A king cannot carry all of himself and still hold the border words." "That is not an answer," Ronan said. "No," Liora said, her voice raw. "It is a confession." Merwin's eyes cut to her. Too fast. Too angry. Because Liora was right. The dark wolf inside the throne pressed harder against the crack, silver flame brightening around its jaws. Ronan's shadow pulled thinner. The throne wanted it. The wolf wanted him back. Or what remained of him. Liora stepped toward the throne. Ronan snapped. "Stay back." The command struck her skin. Royal. Instinctive. Terrified. But it did not move her. That stopped him more than disobedience would have. Liora looked at him. "You told me my wolf was dead." Pain flashed across his face. "I was wrong." The words came low. They did not fix anything. But in a hall built on denial, they mattered. Merwin lifted the crescent blade again. "If she comes closer, the throne will open wider." Ronan did not look away from Liora. "Why?" Merwin's jaw tightened. The dark wolf answered from inside the throne. "Because she is not hollow." The front row of nobles stepped back so quickly their silver chairs scraped against the stone. A noble lord whispered. "Then what is she?" The first glowing wolf face appeared again beside the darker one. Lyra's wolf, trapped in the throne's black stone, silver eyes locked on her. Its voice entered her chest. "Not dead. Phil." Liora pressed her hand over the ash mark. "What am I?" The throne cracked louder. Merwin shouted, "Do not answer her." Too late. The wolves inside the throne began to howl. Dozens of them. Each voice carrying one broken truth. Hollow blood is not born. Hollow blood is made. A guard touched 2 fingers to the wolf mark carved into his breastplate. The mother in the second row pulled her daughter closer beneath her cloak. Merwin's control slipped. She raised the crescent blade toward Liora. "Enough." Ronan moved first. Even with his shadow half dragged toward the throne, he crossed the distance between them and caught Merwin's wrist before the blade touched air. His grip was brutal. The blade fell. "Threaten her again," he said, "and I will forget you ever served this crown." Merwin looked at his hand around her wrist, then at his torn shadow, then at the throne behind him. "You cannot forget," she whispered. "That is the problem. The part of you that remembers is in there." Ronan froze. Liora's breath stopped. The dark wolf inside the throne lowered its crowned head. "My king." It said again, softer now. Not as a title, as grief. Ronan slowly released Merwin. "What part?" Merwin said nothing. Liora looked at the throne. The silver cracks showed flashes now. A boy in black ceremonial clothes, kneeling before the throne after a funeral. A dead king carried under white wolf banners. A younger Ronan, no older than 16, shaking as the crown was lowered onto his head. Merwin standing behind him with black salt in both hands. The black wolf throne opening. A dark wolf lunging from young Ronan's shadow to protect him. Then chains. Silver flame. A crown cutting his brow. The dark wolf screaming as half of it was pulled into the throne. The vision vanished. Ronan stood motionless. The hall seemed to hold its breath around him. Liora knew that stillness. She had worn it herself. The stillness that came when pain was too large to show without breaking open. "You knew," he said. Merwin's face hardened. "I obeyed." "My father?" "Your father understood that a king's full wolf is too loyal to the man. The throne needs loyalty to the crown." Ronan looked at the black throne, then at the dark wolf trapped inside it. "My wolf." "Half," Merwin said. "Enough remained in you to rule. Enough was given to the throne to keep the wards alive." Liora heard the lie under the explanation. Not all of it, but enough. She stepped closer to Ronan. This time he did not tell her to stop. His shadow still stretched toward the throne, trembling at the edges. The dark wolf inside the stone watched her with silver-crowned eyes. Liora looked at it. "Did you protect him?" The wolf's eyes closed. "Always." Ronan's face changed. "Only once. But the fracture was there." Liora felt it like a crack through the room. He had ruled with stolen wolves, but he had also been stolen from. Merwin saw sympathy form and lunged for it like an enemy. "Do not pity him," she snapped at Liora. "His crown fed because yours was weak enough to take." Liora turned. "My wolf was not weak." The ash mark over her heart blazed silver. The first glowing wolf inside the throne slammed both paws against the crack. Liora lifted her chin. "You only took it before it knew how to bite." The crack widened. A piece of black stone fell from the throne and shattered on the steps. Inside, for one breath, Liora saw dozens of wolf faces pressed together in silver fire. Girls' wolves, servants' wolves, forgotten daughters' wolves, and among them, Ronan's dark wolf, chained through the crown. Merwin went pale. "Close it." No one moved. She turned sharply toward the guards. "Close it now." Still, no one obeyed. One guard lowered his spear. Another stepped away from the throne's shadow. Even the royal wolves kept their eyes on Liora now instead of the throne seer. That was when Merwin understood the hall was no longer fully hers. Then the black wolf throne chose violence. The carved mouth at its base opened wide. A black chain shot out and wrapped around Ronan's shadow, dragging him backward so hard his boots scraped across the stone. Liora moved without thinking. She caught his hand. The moment her fingers closed around his, the chain stopped. The entire hall froze. Ronan stared down at their joined hands. So did Liora. Her ash mark burned. His crown bled. The two trapped wolves inside the throne, hers glowing silver. His dark and crowned lifted their heads at the same time. Merwin whispered, "Impossible." Liora looked at Ronan. He looked back. For one breath, neither of them moved. Then the throne spoke in many wolf voices at once. "Two stolen halves cannot free themselves alone." The black chain tightened. The throne began pulling again. This time it pulled both of them. The throne pulled both of them. Liora's hand locked around Ronan's, and the shifting hall vanished in a rush of black stone, silver fire, and wolf screams. For one breath she was falling. Then her knees struck cold ground. Not the hall floor. Something older. Something beneath the throne. Liora opened her eyes and found herself standing inside a forest made of black stone roots. Silver chains hung from branches that had no leaves. Wolf bones glowed beneath the ground like buried moonlight. Above her, there was no sky, only the underside of the black wolf throne. Pulsing like a heart that had learned how to eat, Ronan landed beside her, still holding her hand. His crown was bleeding again. His shadow stretched behind him, torn at the edges, dragged toward a dark wolf chained to a stone altar in the distance, the wolf with silver flame around its crown. His wolf, Liora's own glowing wolf, stood several paces away, trapped behind a wall of black roots. It was beautiful and furious, its silver eyes fixed on her with a pain so old it felt like memory returning before language. Liora took one step toward it. The roots tightened. Herr Wolf snarled. Ronan's hand tightened around hers. "Do not rush." She looked at him. "It is mine." His jaw clenched. "I know." The answer struck her differently here. In the hall, it had sounded like belief. Here, inside the wound of the throne, it sounded like guilt. Before Liora could answer, Marwyn's voice split the darkness from somewhere above. Separate them. The black roots obeyed. A chain snapped around Ronan's torn shadow and yanked him backward. Another shot toward Leora's chest, aimed at the glowing ash mark over her heart. Ronan pulled her behind him. Liora shoved him aside. No. The chain missed her heart and wrapped around her wrist instead. Pain flashed up her arm, but she stayed standing. Ronan stared at her. She looked back at him through clenched teeth. Do not protect me by giving the throne more of yourself. For one breath, anger flashed in his eyes, then restraint. He released the sword half drawn from his side. Good. He was listening. The black roots shifted around them. Dozens of wolf faces appeared inside the stone bark. Silver, gray, white, black, young, terrified, furious. Each one carried a mark over its heart like Leora's. Girls' wolves, fed before they could shift, fed before they could bite, fed before they could even know their own names. A small white wolf pressed its nose against a root wall. Its voice entered Leora's chest. They called us dead so no one would search. Leora's throat tightened. Ronan heard it too. His face hardened. But this time the fury did not cover the grief. How many? He whispered. The roots answered with howls. Too many. The dark wolf chained near the altar lifted its crowned head. My king, it said again. Ronan turned toward it, and the chain around his shadow tightened so violently he nearly dropped to one knee. Liora caught his arm. His whole body went still at her touch. Not because the pain stopped, because it changed. The silver fire around his wolf brightened. Merwin's voice returned, sharper now. Do not let the hollow girl touch the king's shadow. Liora looked upward, though there was no real sky. I am not hollow. The throne trembled. Ronan looked at her. Liora lifted her chained wrist. I am what your throne ate. Her glowing wolf slammed its paws against the root wall. The wall cracked. Merwin hissed from above. She cannot free herself. She does not know the wolf's name. The words landed hard. Liora Froze. Name. She had never named her wolf. How could she? They told her it was dead before she ever heard it breathe. Ronan understood at the same moment. His voice lowered. That is why they took it young. Liora nodded slowly. Before it could answer me. Before it could come when called. Before it could become hers in any way the throne could not steal. The black roots began to close around her glowing wolf again. Merwin was sealing it. Ronan stepped toward his chained wolf, but the altar beneath it flared black. His body locked. The crown on his head cut deeper, sending blood down his temple. His wolf snarled. Do not kneel. Ronan's breath shook. Liora looked at him. Can you free yours? His mouth tightened. Not without feeding the throne my crown. That was the trap. If Ronan used royal power, the throne would eat more of him. If Liora tried to reach her wolf without its name, the roots would close forever. Merwin knew it. The throne knew it. Then the small white wolf behind the roots spoke again. Names are not given by crowns. Liora turned toward it. The wolf's silver eyes softened. They are remembered by wounds that refuse to die. Liora pressed her hand over the ash mark. Her wound. He'ache. All the years of silence under her ribs. All the times she felt something listening from behind a door. All the times she was told dead, hollow, empty, ruined. She closed her eyes. Behind the pain, there was a sound. Not a howl. A breath. A first breath. The one stolen from her wolf before it could become a cry. Ronan's voice came softly beside her. Liora. She opened her eyes. He was still trapped by the crown's chain. Still bleeding. Still dangerous and half taken by the throne. But he was watching her as if the whole dark forest had narrowed to the space where she stood. Not commanding. Waiting. What did it feel like? He asked. The same question from the trial. But here, it meant more. Liora swallowed. Cold, she whispered. Like I was born with a door in my chest. Her wolf lifted its head. The roots around it loosened. Liora kept going. And angry. Not loud. Not yet. Just angry that someone locked it before I could even knock. The glowing wolf's silver eyes burned brighter. Ronan's voice was rough. Then call that. Liora looked at him. A dangerous tenderness moved between them, too new to trust, too real to ignore. She turned back to the root wall. Merwin screamed from above. Seal her mouth. A black root snapped toward Leora's throat. Ronan caught it with his bare hand. The root burned into his palm. He did not let go. Call it, he said through clenched teeth. Liora placed both hands over the ash mark on her heart. She did not know the name, so she called the wound. I was not empty, she said. The root wall cracked. I was not dead. Her wolf pressed forward. I was fed to a throne that feared me waking. Silver fire erupted through the roots. Leora's voice broke, but she did not stop. And if you are mine, if you have been waiting behind that door all these years, then answer me now. The glowing wolf opened its jaws. The dark forest went silent. Then the name rose from inside Leora's own chest. Not given. Remembered. Sayala. The root wall shattered. Her wolf leapt free in a burst of silver light. The chain around Leora's wrist snapped. Above them, Merwin screamed. Ronan's chained wolf lifted its crowned head. Sayala crossed the black stone ground and stood before Liora, huge and luminous, breathing hard, as if she had been running toward this moment her whole life. Liora reached out with a trembling hand. Sayala lowered her head into her palm. The moment they touched, the black wolf throne shook apart around them. Every stolen wolf in the root forest turned toward Liora, and together they spoke. Now free the king. The stolen wolves spoke as one. Their voices moved through the black stone forest like wind through bones. Silver eyes opened in every root, every chain, every buried hollow beneath the black wolf throne. Dozens of wolves watched Liora now, not as a hollow blood, not as a dead thing, as the first girl who had called her wolf back by name. Sayala stood beside her, huge and luminous, silver fur burning with moonfire. The ash mark over her heart now split open into a living crescent. Leora's hand rested against the wolf's neck. Fingers buried in warmth she had spent her whole life being told she did not possess. She wanted to fall against Sayala and weep. She wanted one breath where no one took anything. But across the black stone roots, Ronan's dark wolf was still chained to the altar. The crowned wolf lifted its head. Its silver flame crown was not a crown of glory. It was a shackle. Ronan stood between Liora and the altar, blood running from the cut beneath his crown. His shadow stretched thin toward the chained wolf. Every time the dark wolf breathed, Ronan's chest moved with it. Liora understood then. The wolf was not only trapped inside the throne, it was still keeping him alive. Ronan saw her understanding and looked away first. That small motion hurt more than pride. Do not look at me like that, he said. Like what? Like I am another victim of the throne. Leora's voice softened. Are you not? His jaw tightened. I am the king who sat on it. The answer landed between them. Honest. Cruel. Incomplete. Sayala gave a low growl, not at Ronan, but at the crown chain wrapped around his wolf's throat. Liora stepped toward the altar. Ronan caught her wrist. Gently. Still. Sayla's ears flattened. Ronan released her at once. I will not ask you to pay for what my crown stole, he said. Liora looked at him. Then do not. His eyes sharpened. She lifted her chin. But do not stand there and call refusal honor when your wolf is still bleeding. The dark wolf inside the altar made a sound. Almost a laugh. Almost a sob. My king, it whispered. She bites. For one impossible second, Ronan's mouth almost moved. Not a smile. Something broken near it. Then Merwin's voice tore through the forest from above. Do not listen to her. The black roots trembled. Silver chains snapped tight around Ronan's wolf, dragging its head low again. The crown on Ronan's brow cut deeper, and fresh blood ran into his eye. Sayala lunged forward. Liora caught the wolf's fur. Wait. Sayala trembled with fury. Liora felt that fury as her own, bright and new and dangerous. All her life, she had been afraid of having nothing inside her. Now she had too much. Ronan watched her holding back the wolf. Respect flickered through his pain. Merwin's voice sharpened. The girl has named one stolen beast and thinks that makes her judge of kings. Seal the hollow root. Above them, somewhere beyond the throne, black salt rained through the forest like ash. Where each grain struck, roots hardened into iron. The stolen wolves cried out. Sayela snarled and pressed her body against Liora, shielding her from the salt. Ronan looked upward. Merwin. His voice carried into the stone. A king's warning. The throne answered before the priestess did. Black chains burst from the altar and wrapped around Ronan's arms, dragging him toward his wolf. Sayela leapt, but the chains struck her aside with a flash of crown fire. Liora cried out as the wolf hit the roots and rolled back to her feet. Ronan fought the chains, boots scraping over black stone. The dark wolf on the altar strained toward him. No, it growled. Not again. Liora ran toward Ronan. A root caught her ankle. She fell hard, palms striking stone. For a moment the old fear returned. Barefoot in a hall. Marked. Watched. Too late to save anything. Then Sayela's breath warmed the back of her neck. Not dead. Liora pushed herself up. Not emptied. She grabbed the root around her ankle with both hands and pulled. Silver fire ran from Sayela through her fingers. The root cracked. Liora tore free. Ronan looked at her, and this time he did not tell her to stay back. Good. She was done being warned away from her own wound. The chains dragged him closer to the altar. The crowned wolf's throat glowed where the silver shackle tightened. Liora reached the edge of the altar and saw the lock. It was not around the wolf's neck. Not only. It ran through the crown on Ronan's head. Through his blood. Through the throne. Through every royal command strengthened by stolen wolves. Leora's stomach twisted. To free him, she whispered. You have to give back what the throne used. Ronan heard. So did Merwin. From above, the priestess laughed. And now she understands. If the king frees his wolf, the throne loses every borrowed command. The border wards weaken. The nobles remember they can disobey. The crown becomes only metal. Ronan still. The chains pulled harder. Liora looked at him. Is she telling the truth? His face was pale. But his voice stayed steady. Probably. And will you still do it? Merwin screamed. Majesty, answer carefully. Ronan looked at the chained wolf. Then at the stolen wolves in the roots. Then at Liora. The first command I give freely, he said, should not require prisoners to obey it. The forest went silent. Sayela lifted her head. The stolen wolves listened. Liora felt something inside the throne shift. Not break. Not yet, but hesitate. Merwin felt it too. Her voice went sharp with panic. Then you choose collapse. Ronan's eyes did not leave Liora. No. I choose a crown that must earn obedience. The dark wolf on the altar closed its eyes. My king, it whispered. This time the words did not sound like grief. They sounded like recognition. Liora stepped closer to the altar. What is his name? She asked. Ronan looked at her. My wolf? Yes. He swallowed once. Then his face changed. Fear. Not of the throne. Of not knowing. The realization struck him harder than any chain. Merwin laughed from above, soft and cruel. A king does not name the part he sacrifices. Ronan's hand tightened into a fist. Leora's chest hurt. They had taken her wolf before she could name it. They had taken his after making him believe kings did not need names for the parts that served them. Sayela stepped beside Ronan. The silver wolf looked up at him, eyes bright and merciless. Names are remembered by wounds that refuse to die. Ronan looked at Liora. She nodded once, not telling him what to do, only staying. His breathing roughened. The night my father died, he said slowly. I was told not to cry. The black roots trembled. I was told the throne needed a king, not a boy. The crowned wolf lifted its head. Ronan's voice dropped. But before the crown touched me, something inside me howled so loudly I thought the hall would split. The chains around the wolf loosened by a fraction. I heard one word before Merwin poured the salt. Liora barely breathed. What word? Ronan closed his eyes. The crown on his brow bled again. Arik. The altar cracked. The dark wolf surged upward. Arik. The name rolled through the throne like thunder under stone. The crown chain around the wolf's throat split halfway. Ronan gasped. One hand flying to his chest as if half a heart had just found him again. Sayela howled. The stolen wolves answered. Above them, Merwin screamed. Black salt poured through the forest in a storm. Not to seal one wolf now. To bury all of them. The throne's roots opened beneath Leora's feet. revealing a dark drop into the carved mouth below. Sayla lunged for her. Ronan caught her hand. For one breath, Liora hung between them, her wolf gripping her dress in its teeth, Ronan's hand locked around hers, the throne pulling from below. Merwin's voice rang through the darkness. If the stolen wolves cannot feed the throne will feed on the living. The roots snapped. Liora fell. Ronan fell with her. Sayla leapt after them. And above, the black wolf throne opened its mouth wide enough to swallow a king. The black wolf throne opened its mouth wide enough to swallow a king. Liora fell through darkness with Ronan's hand locked around hers and Sayla's teeth gripping the torn back of her dress. Above them, the black roots closed like jaws. Below them, silver fire spun through an endless throat of stone. The throne was not hollow. It was hungry. They struck a floor made of old crowns. Liora rolled hard across black metal and broken silver points. Ronan hit beside her, one arm around her shoulders before he seemed to realize he had reached for her. He released her immediately, but not before she felt the tremor running through him. Not fear. Recognition. He knew this place. Sayla landed in front of Liora with a snarl, luminous paws cracking the crown floor. A breath later, Eric fell from above, half freed from the crown chain, dark fur burning with faint silver flame. The chain still ran through his throat and vanished upward into the throne's roots. Ronan pushed himself to his feet. His crown was gone. Blood ran down his temple where it had cut him. Liora looked around. The chamber beneath the throne was not a chamber at all. It was a pit of offerings. Hundreds of wolf shadows were trapped in the walls, each one bound behind black stone-like faces under frozen water. Some were bright. Some were faded almost to smoke. Beneath them lay piles of old trial chains, children's ash marks, silver nameplates, broken mooncall bells, and tiny wolf-bone charms no one had returned to the girls who once wore them. Liora's stomach turned. "This is where they went," she whispered. Sayla pressed against her side. "Not gone. Fid." The word moved through Liora's body like a second pulse. Ronan's face hardened as he stared at the walls. "My throne was built over this." "No," Liora said, voice shaking. "Your throne was built from this." He looked at her. The truth hurt him. "Good. Some truth should." Above them, Merwin's voice echoed through the stone throat. "Majesty, you can still survive this. Let the throne take the hollow girl and her wolf. Let it return the stolen half of yours. The wards will hold. The crown will remain strong." Eric snarled. Ronan did not look up. "What happens to the others?" Merwin fell silent. "Too long." Ronan's jaw tightened. Liora walked to the nearest wall. A pale gray wolf shadow pressed its face against the stone. Its eyes were barely open. Around its neck hung a small silver tag burned with a name. Elith. Liora touched the stone. The wolf stirred. A vision entered her palm. A little girl in a linen shift, no older than 8, kneeling before Merwin. A black ash mark painted over her heart. Her mother crying behind 2 guards. The carved wolf mouth opening. A wolf pup's first howl being dragged out of the child's chest before it could finish becoming sound. Liora jerked her hand away. Ronan was beside her in an instant. "What did you see?" "A beginning," she said. "One they called an ending." His eyes moved to the name tag. Elith. Then to the hundreds of shadows in the wall. "How many beginnings did my crown eat?" Merwin answered from above, sharper now. "Enough to keep your borders from burning." Ronan looked up at the black roots. "Do not dress murder as protection. The North survived, not cleanly." The words rang through the feeding pit. The walls trembled. For the first time, the trapped wolf shadows moved toward his voice. Merwin heard it too. Her tone changed. "Careful, Majesty. They will listen to you if you sound like a king." Ronan's expression turned cold. Then he looked at Liora. She saw the choice form in his face. The old habit. Comment. Take control. Make the room obey before it could hurt anyone else. But command was exactly what the throne had fattened on. Every royal order strengthened by stolen wolves. Every bowed head bought with someone else's soul. Liora did not speak. She did not need to. Ronan looked back at the walls and lowered his voice. "Not weaker. Truer. I will not command you." The pit went still. Eric lifted his chained head. Sayela's silver ears pricked forward. Ronan continued, each word pulled through blood and shame. I have ruled with power I did not know was stolen. That ignorance does not make it clean. I cannot undo that by ordering you free. The wolf shadows watched him, hundreds of silver eyes. Waiting, Ronan's hand opened at his side. So I ask. Merwin screamed from above. No! The walls flared black. The throne mouth began to close. Stone teeth lowered from the roots, grinding toward the pit. Black salt poured through the cracks like a storm. Sayela lunged against the nearest wall, silver fire bursting from her shoulders. Eric pulled against his crown chain, dragging sparks from the root above. Liora realized the throne was not trying to kill them. It was trying to digest them before the wolves could answer. She ran to Ronan and grabbed his bleeding hand. He looked at her. No warning this time. No command. Only trust under terror. Ask them again, she said. His voice dropped lower. Will you leave the throne? The wolf shadows stirred. Black salt struck the walls, hardening them. Merwin's voice cracked with panic. They cannot leave. They are the wards. They are the strength under your throne. Liora faced the walls. You are not walls. Sayela howled beside her. Liora pressed both hands to the black stone. You are wolves. The first crack appeared under her palm. Then another. The pale gray wolf, Elith, pushed its nose through the stone. Ronan stepped beside Liora and placed his bloodied hand against the same wall. I ask, he said again. Not as your owner. Not as your king. As the man who sat above you without knowing your names. Will you leave? For one terrible breath, nothing happened. Then Elith answered, yes. The wall shattered. The pale gray wolf burst free in a flash of silver light. The feeding pit shook. One stolen wolf had chosen. Then another. Then 10. Then dozens. Stone cracked all around them as wolf shadows tore themselves from the walls. Not whole yet, not fully alive, but no longer silent. They filled the pit with silver fire and furious breath. Merwin screamed. The throne screamed louder. The stone teeth slammed downward. Eric roared and threw himself beneath them, holding the mouth open with his chained back. The silver crown chain burned into his throat. Ronan staggered as the same pain cut across his own neck. Liora caught his arm. Eric cannot hold it alone. I know. Ronan reached for the chain. Liora stopped him. If you pull it as king, the throne will take more. His eyes met hers. Then not as king. He tore the dark silver ring from his hand, the royal command ring. The one every wolf in the north had been trained to obey, and threw it onto the crown floor. The ring cracked. The pit went silent. Above them, Merwin whispered, horrified. Majesty. Ronan looked at Eric. I release what was never mine to spend. The crown chain around Eric's throat split. Not fully. Enough. Eric surged upward, pushing the stone teeth higher. Sayela leapt beside him. The two wolves, silver and dark, stolen girl and divided king, braced shoulder to shoulder against the closing throne mouth. Liora felt Sayela's strength inside her own bones. Ronan felt Eric's through the torn shadow behind him. The feeding pit began to collapse. Freed wolves streamed upward through the cracks, toward the shifting hall, toward names, mothers, bodies, graves, memories, anything that could receive them. But hundreds remained. Too many. The throne opened deeper beneath Liora's feet. A second mouth. Older. Below the pit. A place where the first stolen wolf had been buried so long it had become part of the throne's hunger. Its voice rose from underneath the crown floor. Bring me the girl who woke. The freed wolves recoiled. Sayela snarled. Ronan stepped in front of Liora. This time she did not push him aside. Because he was not choosing for her. He was standing with her. The crown floor split. A massive black wolf skull emerged from below, its eyes burning with old throne fire. Chains ran through its jaws like roots. Around its brow was carved the first crown of Verhold. Merwin's voice came from above, shaking with reverence and terror. The first ward. The skull turned toward Liora. Not dead, not alive. Hungry with centuries of obedience. Its jaws opened. Give me your wolf, it said, and I will return his crown. Ronan's hand tightened around Liora's. No. Liora looked at the first ward, then at Sayela, then at the wolves still trapped in the walls. Her fear did not vanish. It stood beside her like another shadow. But Sayela stood taller. Liora lifted her chin. You have had enough, girls. The first ward laughed. The sound cracked the crown floor. Then I will take the king. Its chains shot toward Ronan's chest. And Eric, still half bound, threw himself into their path. Eric threw himself into the chains meant for Ronan. The black link struck the dark wolf's chest and drove him backward across the crown floor. Silver flame burst from his shoulders. Ronan staggered as if the blow had gone through his own ribs. Arik, he snarled. The name shook the feeding pit. Eric lifted his head, teeth bared. Stay standing. The first ward laughed. Its massive skull rose from the cracked floor, crowned in old Werewolf iron. Its jaws held open by chains grown into bone. A king's wolf still throws itself before the crown, it said. Good. Some hunger remembers obedience. Saila lunget. The first ward opened its jaws. One word rolled through the pit. Obey. The command slammed every freed wolf to the crown floor. Sayla's knees buckled. Eric's claws carved lines through black stone as he fought not to bow. Liora nearly fell with them, but Ronan caught her elbow, not pulling her back, keeping her upright. The difference mattered. The first ward turned its burning eyes toward her. All wolves fed to the throne know the first command. Liora forced herself to breathe. Then the throne taught them wrong. Above them, Merwin's voice echoed through the closing mouth. Majesty, let the first ward take her. It will restore the crown. It will return your wolf whole. Ronan looked up, eyes cold. My crown has eaten enough. The first ward snapped its jaws shut. Then it eats you. The black chains tightened around Eric and dragged him toward the skull's open mouth. Ronan was pulled with him, boots scraping across the broken crown floor. Liora grabbed Ronan's hand. Sayela bit into Eric's chain. The chain burned her mouth, but she did not let go. Ronan looked at Liora. She will hurt herself. So will you. That silenced him. The first ward pulled harder. Ronan's knees bent. Liora saw the choice forming in him. Give himself. Save her. Call it kingship. She stepped in front of him before he could become noble in the worst possible way. No. His eyes flashed. Liora, you do not get to feed yourself to the throne and pretend that is different from what your father did. The words cut him. They were meant to. The first ward paused. Only for a breath. Enough. Liora looked at the massive skull. You were not born a throne. The fire in its eyes flickered. Ronan still. The freed wolves lifted their heads by inches. I am the first protection, the first ward growled. No, Liora said. That is what they made you. The pit trembled. Liora stepped closer. Ronan moved with her, but did not stop her. Around the first ward's brow, beneath the old crown fire, she saw a small moon-shaped scar, like the ash mark over her own heart. Alder, buried under centuries of hunger. Liora pointed to it. You were marked too. The first ward snarled. Ronan's voice lowered. It was a wolf before it was a ward. Liora kept her eyes on the skull. Did you choose it? The chains rattled. Did you choose to become the first mouth? Above them, Merwin screamed. Do not answer her. That was how Liora knew the question had found blood. For 1 second, beneath the hunger, something whimpered. Not Sayela. Not Arik. The first ward. Liora pressed one hand to her heart. What was your name before they fed you first? The crown floor split. Black fire surged. The first ward roared. I have no name. Yes, Liora said. You do. A vision opened inside the skull. A girl stood in the first throne room of Werewolf centuries ago. Barefoot. Holding a tiny black wolf pup against her chest. Around her, kings and priests argued over a dying border. The first crown had no power yet. The throne was only stone. The girl's wolf was the first to answer the northern wards. So they took it. Not because it was weak. Because it was strong enough to hold the line. They painted an ash mark over the girl's heart. They called her blessed. Then hollow. Then forgotten. Her wolf pup was pressed into the stone beneath the first crown while the girl screamed its name. The vision began to collapse as black salt poured from above. Liora reached toward it. No. Ronan caught her hand and held it steady. Ask again. She looked at him. He nodded once. Trust. Costly. Real. Liora turned back to the dying vision. What was the first wolf's name? The tiny wolf pup lifted its head. The name rose from all the stolen wolves. Ivara. The first ward screamed. Not in rage. In recognition. The old crown split down the center. Underneath it, the massive skull shuddered. And for one heartbeat, Liora no longer saw a monster. She saw an ancient wolf forced to eat other wolves because no one had called it by name. Ivara, Liora said again. The chains around the first ward's jaws cracked. Ronan lifted his hand toward the dark wolf. Eric. Sayla howled. Eric answered. Evera opened its silver eyes. The command buried in the throne broke. Obey became remember. All around the feeding pit, stolen wolves rose. The walls shattered in silver fire. Merwin screamed from above, but the throne no longer answered her first. It answered the names. Sayla, Arik, Ivara, and hundreds more. The stolen wolves rushed toward the open mouth above, not to feed the throne, but to escape it. Ronan gripped Liora's hand. This time neither of them let go. Then Ivara turned toward the king. The crown still owes what it ate. Ronan went still. The silver fire around Eric dimmed. Ivra's jaws opened, no longer hungry but ancient with judgment. Choose, my king. Return the stolen wolves to their girls, or keep the throne standing. Above them, the black wolf throne cracked from the inside, and the shifting hall began to fall. The shifting hall began to fall. Above the feeding pit, black stone cracked like ice under a giant's foot. Silver dust poured through the open throne mouth. Broken pieces of the royal dais rained into the darkness, each one carved with wolf claws, crown marks, and old blood hidden under polish. Ronan looked up. The throne was collapsing. His throne. His father's throne. The altar dressed as a throne. Evera's words still hung between them. Return the stolen wolves to their girls, or keep the throne standing. Liora felt Ronan's hand tighten around hers. Not in command. In restraint, because the answer that should have been easy was not simple. If the throne fell, the border wards could fall with it. The royal court above could be crushed. The northern packs could lose the old protection that had held enemies back for generations. But if the throne stood, it would stand on stolen wolves. Sayela pressed against Liora's side, silver fur bristling. Arik stood beside Ronan, half-free, dark, and crowned in broken fire. Above them, Marwyn's voice tore through the collapsing stone. Majesty. Choose the throne. Ronan did not answer. Merwyn's voice sharpened. If the Black Wolf throne falls, the northern wards fall. Your enemies will smell weakness before dawn. The houses will fracture. The border packs will turn. Is one hollow girl worth a kingdom? Liora flinched. There it was. The old shape of the knife. One girl against everyone. One wound against a kingdom. One stolen thing made small enough to sacrifice. Ronan felt her flinch. His head turned toward her. Not fully. Just enough. No, he said. Merwyn laughed in relief too soon. Then Ronan finished. She is not the price. The feeding pit went still. Even the falling stones seemed to pause. Merwyn's silence was more satisfying than her fear. Ronan looked up toward the broken throne mouth. No more girls. No more wolves. No more protection that begins with theft. Evera's massive skull lowered. Then pay what the crown owes. The words shook the pit. Eric's silver flame dimmed. Ronan's face went pale, but he did not look away. What does it owe? Ivara's answer came like stone grinding open. Names, blood, release. At the word blood, Merwyn seized her chance. Yes, she shouted from above. Blood. Royal blood. Give yours, Majesty. Bind the throne again without the girl. A king's sacrifice can cleanse what lesser bodies carried. Liora's stomach turned. Apretir sacrifice. Aclina li. Ronan started to step forward. Liora grabbed his hand harder. He looked at her. She shook her head once. Do not. His eyes burned. If my blood can free them. You heard only the word that lets you bleed. That stopped him. Liora turned to Evra. You said names first. The first ward's silver eyes fixed on her. Yes. Then why is everyone trying to pay in blood before speaking them? The stolen wolves stirred. Sayela lifted her head. Eric's ears pricked forward. Avara did not answer quickly. That was answer enough. Liora stepped forward, still holding Ronan's hand. Because blood is easier than witness. Blood ends a moment. Names change what the court must remember. The feeding pit trembled. Above, Merwin screamed, "She twists old law." "No," Ronan said, voice low. "She is reading the part you skipped." Liora looked up through the cracked throne mouth. She could see pieces of the shifting hall above, nobles scrambling away from the falling dais, guards dragging children back, wolves howling beneath white torches. "Bring them down," she said. Ronan turned sharply. "Who?" "The girls." His face changed. The stolen wolves inside the pit went still. Liora swallowed. The living hollow. Blood girls. The mothers. The families. Anyone whose wolf was called dead. If the crown owes names, then the court has to hear them. Merwin's voice turned cold. "You would bring children into the feeding pit?" Liora looked at the throne mouth. "You already did." No one answered. Then Ronan lifted his head. His voice rose through the collapsing throne, not as Alpha command, but as a king's public confession. "Open the lower stair." A guard above shouted, "Majesty, the hall is breaking. Open it." This time the order did not feel stolen. It did not press on the wolves. It did not bend the air. It simply stood, a choice given weight. Above them, stone moved. A hidden stair opened along the side of the feeding pit, carved behind the old throne wall. Guards appeared first, pale and shaken. Then nobles. Then servants who had been watching from the lower arches. And then the girls came. Some young, some grown, some with black ash marks over their hearts, some with scars where the marks had been sealed years ago. A mother stepped down, holding the hand of the daughter she had pulled behind her cloak. The little girl stared at Ciela with wide eyes and did not cry. Leora's chest tightened. Merwin appeared at the top of the stair, blood on her white robe, face hard with fury. "Majesty, stop this before it becomes irreversible." Ronan looked at the girls, then at the wolves trapped in silver fire. It should have been irreversible the moment the first child screamed. Merwin's lips parted. No answer came. Liora stepped toward the first freed wolf, the pale gray one from the wall. "Elith," she said. The wolf lifted its head. A woman near the stair gasped and fell to her knees. "That was my sister's name." The pale wolf crossed the pit and pressed its nose to the woman's hand. Silver fire passed between them. Not possession. Return. The feeding pit cracked. Another wolf stepped forward. A small black wolf with one white ear. Liora looked at the ash mark glowing over a young girl's chest. The girl was shaking, but she held Leora's gaze. "What did they call your wolf?" Liora asked. The girl whispered, "Dead." Liora knelt before her. "No. What did you call the ache?" The girl touched her heart. Her voice trembled. "Nira." The black wolf ran to her. The moment they touched, the girl's ash mark split open, not as wound, but as moonlight. Around the pit, wolves began to move. "Ona be ona." Names rose. Mothers cried. Servants reached for wolves they had been told never existed. Nobles stood silent as the lie became too large to call mercy. With every name spoken, the throne weakened. But the pit did not collapse. It changed. The black stone roots turned silver. The crown floor cracked open, revealing moonlit earth beneath. Avara watched. Ancien. Unforgiving. But quieter now. Merwin saw the throne losing hunger and made her final move. She stepped to the edge of the stair and lifted the crescent blade. Not toward Liora. Toward the little girl who had just named Nira. "If the first new hollow blood dies before the return completes," Merwin said, "the old law closes." Ronan moved. Ciela moved. But Liora was closer. She stepped between the blade and the child. Merwin smiled through tears of rage. "Still willing to be the price?" Liora looked at her. "No." Ciela appeared beside Liora, silver teeth bared. "I am the witness." Ronan stepped to her other side, Eric rising behind him like night crowned in flame. "And I am the debt," he said. The blade trembled in Merwin's hand. Avara lowered its skull. "Then speak the debt before the throne falls." Ronan looked at the living girls, the returned wolves, the broken crown floor. Then he removed the dark silver crown from his head. The shifting hall above fell silent. Ronan held the crown out. Not to Evra. To Liora. Gasps rose from the stair. Liora did not take it. Not yet. Ronan's voice carried through stone and moonlight. I name the dead of my crown. The black wolf throne cracked again, and every stolen wolf turned to hear what the king would confess. I name the dead of my crown. Ronan's voice carried through the feeding pit, through the broken throne mouth, through the shifting hall above. The dark silver crown rested in his hands, not on his head. That alone made the court breathe differently. Merwin stared at him as if he had cut his own throat. Majesty, she said, voice thin with warning. A king does not confess debt before servants. Ronan did not look at her. He looked at the girls with ash marks over their hearts, the mothers gripping their daughters' shoulders, the freed wolves standing in silver fire. Then his gaze returned to Liora, not asking her to take the crown. Not yet, asking her to witness. My throne was strengthened by stolen wolves, he said. My commands were carried by power that did not belong to me. My father called it protection. My court called it law. I call it theft. The words struck the pit like a hammer. The black wolf throne cracked again. A piece of the dais above collapsed into silver dust before it could crush anyone. Ivara lowered its skull, watching. Ancient judgment waited in its eyes. Ronan continued. Voice rougher now. I cannot return what was taken by pretending I did not benefit from it. Leora's chest tightened. That was the first time he had said it plainly. Not I did not know. Not I was deceived. Benefit. The kind of word kings hated because it left nowhere to hide. Merwin stepped down 2 more stairs, crescent blade still in her hand. Then you would weaken every border ward for a moral performance? Ronan finally looked at her. No. I would stop using stolen children as mortar. Several nobles looked away. One mother began to cry silently. The little girl with Nira pressed her face into the black wolf's fur. Liora stepped forward. If the crown owes names, where are they kept? Merwin's face hardened. Too fast. Liora saw it. So did Ronan. The throne answered with a low groan. Evra's voice rolled through the pit. The last keeper holds the ledger. Every eye turned to Merwin. Her hand closed around something beneath her robe. Ronan's eyes sharpened. Show it. Merwin smiled then. Not kindly. Not sanely. You want names? She asked. Names are not mercy. Names are knives. Once returned, every house that sent a daughter will demand judgment. Every border lord will ask why his ward was built on stolen wolf souls. Every pack will tear itself open looking for who paid and who profited. Liora looked at the girls behind her. They already paid. Merwin's smile vanished. She pulled a narrow black book from inside her robe. The cover was made of wolf hide. The pit went utterly still. The stolen wolves growled. Sayella's silver fur rose along her spine. Ronan's face went cold with horror. What is that? Merwin held the book to her chest. The hollow ledger. Leora's stomach turned. Hollow. That word again. A word used to make living wounds sound empty. Merwin opened the book. The pages glowed with ash marks. Not ink. Scars. Every wolf fed to the throne, she said. Every girl renamed Hollow, blood. Every family told the wolf was dead. Every sacrifice that kept your crown breathing. Ronan moved. Merwin lifted the crescent blade to the book's spine. Touch me, and I cut the ledger from memory. He stopped. The threat landed harder than a blade. If the names vanished, the wolves might be freed but never returned. No witnesses. No families. No proof. Only another mercy-shaped erasure. Liora stepped toward Merwin. Ronan said her name softly. Liora. This time there was no command in it. Only fear. She looked back once. I know. Then she faced Merwin. You cannot cut what has already begun remembering. Merwin's eyes narrowed. You named one wolf and think yourself law? No, Liora said. I was named dead and lived long enough to know the difference. Sayella walked beside her. Every step the silver wolf took made the ledger's pages tremble. Merwin backed down 1 stair. Ivara spoke from behind them. The witness may ask. Liora lifted her chin. Then I asked the ledger. The hollow ledger snapped open. Pages flew in a storm of silver ash. Names rose into the pit. Not one. Hundreds. Elith. Nira. Vessa. Marin. Ohia. Thale, Siren, Kaela. Each name appeared above a wolf, then above a girl, a mother, a sister, a grave, a house record, a forgotten cradle. The pit filled with cries. Not only grief, recognition. Wolves ran toward living bodies. Some found girls still young enough to receive them. Some found grown women who collapsed when the ache in their ribs finally answered. Some found empty space where their girls had died nameless. Those wolves lifted their heads and howled toward the moon window above. The shifting hall answered with silver light. Merwin screamed and drove the crescent blade into the ledger. The book bled black. The names flickered. Liora lunged, but Ronan was faster. He threw the crown. Not at Merwin. At the blade. Dark silver struck crescent steel. Both shattered. The crown broke into 7 pieces across the stair. The shifting hall gasped above them. Merwin stared at the broken crown. Ronan did not. His eyes were on the ledger. Names first, he said. The hollow ledger burst open again. This time the pages did not obey Merwin. They flew to Liora. One page struck the ash mark over her heart and dissolved into silver fire. Liora cried out. Sayela pressed against her side. The names entered her. Not as pain, as witness. Every stolen wolf. Every hollow blood lie. Every girl fed before shifting age. Liora swayed under the weight of them. Ronan caught her elbow. Gently. Do not carry them alone, he said. She looked at him, then at the shattered crown pieces around Merwin's feet. Then confess with me. Ronan nodded. Together, they turned toward the pit. Liora spoke the first name. Ronan repeated it. A wolf answered. They spoke the second. The third? The 10th? The 100th. With each name, the throne cracked further. But the feeding pit did not collapse on the girls. The black roots turned silver and bent away from the living. Merwin fell to her knees among the broken crown shards. You are destroying the throne. Ronan looked at the altar dressed as a throne. No, he said. We are removing what it ate. Ivara's skull lowered. The dead is not finished. Liora looked up. The first ward's silver eyes fixed on Ronan. One wolf remains unpaid. The pit went silent. Eric stepped forward, still chained through the throat by the last crown link. Ronan's breath stopped. Merwin smiled through tears and ash. There, she whispered. The king's wolf is the final ward. Free him. And the throne falls completely. The remaining nobles looked upward as the shifting hall cracked again. Stone dust rained over children, wolves, guards, and broken banners. Ronan looked at Eric. Then at Liora. Liora already knew what he was about to do. Sacrifice the throne. Break the last link. Let the old royal power fall. But before he could speak, the broken crown pieces lifted from the ground. They did not fly to Ronan. They circled Liora. Merwin's face went blank. Evera's voice filled the pit. The stolen wolves have heard the king confess. The 7 crown shards turned silver white. Now they choose who may witness the final release. The shards stopped before Leora's heart. Not touching. Waiting. Ronan stared at her. So did the court. So did every freed wolf. Liora looked at the crown shards. Then at Eric, chained and bleeding silver flame. Then at Ronan, the king who had ruled with her stolen power and had finally named it theft. The final crown link tightened around Eric's throat, and Liora understood. To free the king's wolf, she would have to decide whether the crown deserved a witness at all. The crown shards waited before Leora's heart. 7 pieces of broken dark silver, turned white by the wolves they had once helped bury. They did not touch her. They did not command. They waited. That was the first thing the crown had done right. Ronan stood across from her in the feeding pit, blood on his brow, his shadow torn. His wolf Eric still chained through the throat by the final crown link. Around them, freed wolves watched in silver silence. Above, the shifting hall cracked with every breath the dying throne took. Merwin lifted her head from the broken stair. Do not be a fool. If the final ward breaks, the throne falls. If the throne falls, the old border protection falls with it. Liora looked at the crown shards, then at the girls with ash marks over their hearts, at the mothers holding daughters too tightly, at the wolves who had been called dead because the throne had been hungry. The throne already fell, Liora said. It fell the first time it ate a child and called it protection. The pit went silent. Evera lowered its massive skull. Ancient judgment waited. "The crown asks witness," it said. Leora's throat tightened. "And if I refuse?" Ronan's face changed. Not with anger. With fear. But he did not speak. He did not ask her to save his throne. "That mattered," Evera answered. "Then the last chain remains until the throne breaks itself. The king's wolf may fall with it." Eric lifted his chained head. "My king," he said softly. Ronan closed his eyes once. When he opened them, the boy crowned too young was gone. The king remained, wounded and clear. He looked at Liora. "You owe my crown nothing." Merwin laughed, cracked and desperate. "Listen to him. Noble words while the hall falls. A king can afford honor when someone else pays the collapse." Ronan turned toward her. "No one else pays." He stepped to Eric. The final crown link burned brighter, cutting silver fire from the dark wolf's throat. Ronan placed both hands on the chain. The shifting hall shook. Liora understood what he meant to do. Ronan. His name left her before she could stop it. He looked back. There was no command in his face now. No royal distance. Only a man asking nothing because he finally understood what asking could cost. "I will not make you witness me," he said. "And I will not leave him chained." Then he pulled. The final crown link cut into his palms. Blood ran down his wrists. Eric snarled in pain, but did not pull away. The throne roared, black roots lashing around Ronan's shoulders, trying to drag him back into the old bargain. Merwin screamed, "Stop him!" No guard obeyed. One royal wolf stepped between her and the stair. Then another. The mother in the second row covered her daughter's eyes, but the girl pulled her hand down and watched. Liora looked at the crown shards before her. They still waited. Not demanding, not feeding, waiting for her choice. Sayela pressed her luminous head against Leora's shoulder. Not to push, to steady. Liora reached for the shards. They did not burn. They were cold. For a moment, she felt every stolen wolf inside them. Every name. Every cut. Every girl told she was empty so the throne could stay full. She lifted the shards and stepped toward Ronan. Merwin went still. No. Liora ignored her. She stopped beside Ronan and Eric. Ronan's hands were still locked around the chain, shaking from the force of holding back the throne. Liora raised the crown shards. "I do not witness the throne," she said. The shards trembled. "I do not witness the hunger." Silver light spread from Sayela's chest into Leora's hands. "I witness what was stolen." The freed wolves lifted their heads. "I witness Sayela." Her wolf howled. "I witness Eric." Ronan's dark wolf closed its silver eyes. "I witness Evera." The first ward bowed its ancient skull. "And I witness every wolf named dead so a crown could feel strong." The crown shards shattered into white fire. Not upward. Outward. Into the wolves. Into the girls. Into the ash marks. Into the final crown link around Eric's throat. The chain broke. Eric surged free with a roar that split the feeding pit from root to crown. Ronan fell back, but Liora caught his arm. For one breath, he leaned against her. Not as a king. As a man whose missing half had just returned. Eric stepped behind him, no longer chained. Dark fur burning with silver flame. Sayela stood beside Liora. The two wolves looked at each other. Then they turned toward the black wolf throne. Ivra opened its jaws. "Return what remains." The throne screamed. Not in power, in loss. All around the pit. Black roots split apart. The last stolen wolf shadows tore free and rushed toward the girls. The women, the graves, the moonlight above. Some returned to living bodies. Some became silver fire and flew through the broken hall, carrying names back to families who had never been told what they lost. The throne collapsed, but the kingdom did not. The border wards did not vanish. They changed. Silver light spread across the broken stone, no longer fed by trapped wolves, but by names spoken aloud. The old protection did not die. It became witness. Merwin stared at the ruined throne. "No," she whispered. "No, it cannot stand without sacrifice." Liora turned to her. "It never stood. It fed." Ronan rose slowly. Eric's shadow moved with him now. Whole, the Alpha King looked at Merwin. and there was no softness in him. You will stand public judgment before every hollow blood girl whose name you buried. Merwin's mouth twisted. You will need me. No, Ronan said. That was the first lie. The royal guards took her. This time she fought. This time no one called it holy. By dawn, the shifting hall was broken open to the sky. The black wolf throne lay split from base to crown, its carved mouth silent at last. Where its roots had reached beneath the palace, silver wolf marks glowed across the stone, each one carrying a restored name. Liora stood in the center of the ruined hall with Sayela beside her. No trial chain, no hollow mark, no dead sentence over her soul. Ronan stood a few steps away with Eric at his back and no crown on his head. The court waited for him to crown himself again. He did not. Instead, he faced Liora before every noble, guard, mother, daughter, servant, and wolf who had survived the night. I called your wolf dead, he said. The hall went still. Liora held his gaze. You did. I ruled with what was stolen from you. You did. Pain crossed his face. He accepted both truths without defense. Then he lowered his head. Not to the court. To her. I cannot undo it with a crown. No, Liora said. You cannot. Sayela's silver fur brushed her hand. Ronan looked at the broken throne. Then I will not rebuild it until every stolen wolf is named, every hollow, blood record opened, and every girl marked empty is given back her truth. A murmur moved through the court. Not obedience. Witness. Liora looked at the throne ruins, then at the girls standing with their returned wolves. For the first time in her life, the ache behind her ribs was gone. In its place stood Sayela. Varm. Alive. Hers. Ronan's voice softened. And you? Liora looked at him. The bond between them was not declared. Not yet. It was too early for forgiveness. Too early for devotion. But not too early for truth. I am not your proof, she said. Not your redemption. Not your throne's witness unless I choose to be. Ronan nodded once. Then choose in your own time. That answer settled somewhere quiet inside her. Sayela lowered her head. Eric did the same. 2 wolves. 2 stolen halfes. Free at last. Liora turned toward the open morning, silver light spilling across the ruined hall. The Alpha King had called her wolf dead before the court. But the throne had answered. Her wolf had returned. And the crown that fed on stolen souls had finally learned to kneel before the girls it tried to bury.